One development that could shift investors' sentiment is the upcoming referendum in the United Kingdom. A UK vote to exit the European Union could have significant economic repercussions.
Aha, those are the comments Peter Barnes was referring to just a few minutes ago. We do have Gerald O'Driscoll with us now, former Vice President at the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank. And do you agree with that, this big vote over in the UK? And if so, what would those repercussions be, do you think?
Well, look, it's a factor. We're going into unknown territory, so one can't be completely definitive. But it's only going to be a problem if the leaders of Europe and President of the United States and Congress want it to be a problem. Britain, the process of exiting, if it happens, they should negotiate trade agreements with Britain, and so that there's nothing disruptive. It's entirely in the power of Western policymakers to minimize the effects of the decision of Britain, should it take it, to leave the European Union.
Would you worry, though, about financial markets in that interim period while those trade negotiations were ongoing that you refer to?
Sure, of course, financial markets would probably become more volatile, and I think it's entirely appropriate that the chair of the Federal Reserve System raise that possibility. She's going to have to cope with it if it happens. She's
part of that too, though, right? That's the other thing people would say, is that financial markets are reliant now, maybe more than they ever, on the Federal Reserve and its actions. Did you take away anything significant from her comments on the direction of interest rates? It seems like she thinks, I mean, maybe this is, I know she said over and over, data dependent, and they'll look at the numbers, but it seems like she thinks we can handle some more interest rate hikes, right?
Yes, she seems to believe that. She's putting a lot of emphasis on the labor markets and betting that these recent bad numbers are anomalies, which of course they could be. But I just don't understand how the Fed can raise interest rates in a world in which all other central banks are lowering interest rates. It's going to pop the dollar, and that has all sorts of repercussions.
Right. So from your point of view, then, and get away from the UK for a moment and what the ramifications of that are, right. The ramifications of what's happening here, Federal Reserve policy, is that the real risk? Or?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're going against the tide, and the effects of that is to strengthen the dollar, and we know what that does to manufacturing. I wish rates had been raised a long time ago. Don't misunderstand me. They've been too low for too long. But boy, the timing on these rate increases has turned out to be unfortunate.
Right, okay, so then, yes, that is, a lot of people think that they should have gone up before, but now, where we are now, it's a different thing. Let me try, I think it was a kind of a lighthearted moment there towards the end of the Q&A session with the people who were assembled. Yes. Maybe if I try a similar question on someone who no longer has an official position, as a former Federal Reserve member.
Yes.
Maybe do you think that there's any political candidate that would cause a worldwide market crash if they're elected?
Only if he does what he says he's going to do, and that's the big question, yeah. Only if he said, I mean, you can't torpedo the world trading system and not cause deep fissures in the financial markets along with it. Yeah, I rate that much more important than the Brexit vote.
Huh. Interesting. Well, maybe I'm sorry I asked now. But to be serious, you just think that you probably, and there are other financial people that think this, that Trump doesn't really mean what he says. Is that the idea?
Yes. Well, first of all, for instance, building the wall. Congress isn't going to appropriate the money to build a wall. He can't unilaterally change trade agreements any more than he can unilaterally change libel laws. So, but the fact that he says things like that, of course, make people nervous.
Right. You know, and it does prove that theory that if you do ask somebody who does not have the office anymore, then they will give you a more straight answer, right? Then poor Janet Yellen, you knew she wasn't going to answer that question at all.
Well, she of course, that's a no-win situation for her.
It'd be great if she just said, oh, yeah, you know what, yeah. So I don't know what they thought she was going to say. Thank you, Geraldo O'Driscoll. It's good to talk to you, and thank you for sharing your views. We appreciate it very much.